NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst your legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast with a smiling face on the other end of the line. Let's just get it started. Who the fuck are you, and what do you do?
I am Fleur Jones, and I'm Fly with Fleur.
You absolutely are. I see the posts all the time, and it always stuck out with me because that's, at least for an American, that's a very unique name.
Yeah, it's quite unusual. I think it came from my parents used to watch something called the Forsyth Saga, and there was a character there called Fleur. And when I was a child, it was really rare. You know, I'm always having to spell my name to people and, you know, pronounce it. They like Fleur and Floor and Flo and all sorts. But yes, Fly with Fleur. I'm Fleur Jones.
Well, everything I do with my phone is always by dictation, and it's not spelled your name once correctly. So
it's F-L-E-U-R.
F-L-E-U-R. Yes, that's absolutely not what my phone says it is. So we're going to talk about a lot of the flying and the stuff that you do. I know you've got irons and a lot of fires, but how did you get started in anything, really? I mean, anything extreme, the body flight stuff, obviously, and skydiving.
Okay, so starting from the beginning, I was very lucky in that I've spent a lot of my life, my childhood, in light aircraft. My dad had a Cessna 172. My mom and dad were both private pilot's license. So we used to spend every weekend in the plane, you know, going to little airfields and drop zones and everything. And one of those that we happened to go to was Headcorn and Skydive Headcorn in Kent. And I remember being a very small child and seeing the parachutes and sort of looking through the packing shed door and peeping through and seeing what was going on, and running back to mum and going, I really want to do that one day, mum. But she was like, well, you're going to be a ballet dancer. That's what you want to be. I was like, yeah, I want to be a ballet dancer, but I want to jump out of planes. I want to have a parachute. And she's like, well, you can't do both. You'll hurt yourself. Do you want to do ballet? That's that's what you've got to 100% concentrate on. So I did ballet. I went to the Royal Ballet School. I trained there. I became a ballet teacher accredited by the Royal Ballet School. Became a ballet examiner. I had a vocational full-time school for performing arts children, where I employed, so at the age of 23, I employed 11 staff. Then I had a boarding house.
Wow.
And yeah, they did their academics, and I taught the ballet, and that's what I did. And then,
I mean,
go on.
if everything I've ever seen about ballet, other than an actual ballet, serves correctly, you're a lot more likely to hurt yourself as a ballet dancer than a skydiver.
It's funny you should say that, actually, because I think it was a couple of years ago, I actually broke my foot. I broke my fifth metatarsal in 2 places, and everybody was like, oh, you did that skydiving. I was like, nope, I did it teaching ballet.
Yes,
In
yes.
a really simple little step that I was doing.
Well, there were all the shows that had come out over the last probably dozen years in the States that would pit a ballet dancer's regimen against a football player or a basketball player. You guys put up with some incredible shit. There's no way.
Yeah, and I think that's why I have such endurance when I'm teaching in the tunnel, because like I did 4.5 hours, or 4 hours 20 minutes in London, the new tunnel. iFly's new O2 tunnel, and I literally went back to back every half hour, 2 students every half hour, from I think I started at 12:30 and finished at 10.
Wow.
And yeah, and then I get up, go to work the next day.
I mean, you'd have to have that kind of stamina, especially with everything that I've seen that ballet dancers go through. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just physically incredibly brutal, right?
It's a hard life. It really is a hard life, but it has given me, especially doing the teaching side, has given me an immense ability to work with lots of different types of bodies, lots of different types of people, lots of different learning styles. There's so much that I can cross transfer from teaching ballet into teaching skydiving. And yeah, it works so well. It really does.
I can imagine too, because ballet has to be incredibly demanding physically and mentally. So you've really got to learn how to get into a dancer's head and understand how they're going to learn best, just like a skydiver.
Yeah, yeah, and the whole visualization thing, the whole mental attitude. Um, when I teach, I use a lot of kind of visual clues. I talk about imagery. I talk about imagine you're a ghost. You've got your arms up in the AFF position, or I'm like, oh, imagine you're a dog begging. In FS position, and think about pushing your legs through toffee. And then the crossover, the things that I've learned in skydiving about gestures and using your hands and the way you speak in the tunnel, because you have to speak slowly if you're talking to someone in the tunnel. I've crossed that over back into my ballet teaching, and I find that has had some really good effects as well. So they really blend well, And being an examiner, a ballet examiner, I'm an examiner for one of the biggest organizations. It's called the Imperial Society of Teachers of Dancing. And that gives me an eye to be able to quickly scan the whole body, to be able to look and see, what it is that's not quite working or what's going wrong, and being able to fix it, So it's great.
Do you find yourself having to approach dancers the same way you do jumpers that just aren't getting it?
Yeah.
That's got
So
to be brutal.
yeah, so it's funny actually. I'm doing this new qualification with British Skydiving. It's formation skydiving coach qualification, and it's ratified by Ofqual, who look after all the academic exams in the UK. So it's got some kind of standing behind it. And you have to, one of the things on there is you have to talk about your coaching philosophy. And I'd never even thought about that before, like what was my philosophy? I kind of knew what I wanted to get out of people, but what I actually stood for was it. Putting that into words was quite a unique thing. And the first thing that I put down was kindness, because um, in my ballet life and in also in teaching skydiving, I see a lot of harshness that
Sure.
I want to, if I do nothing in this sport, I want to eradicate that militaristic way of teaching people, which actually like turns a lot of people off.
Sure.
I appreciate it's you've got to save your life, and I appreciate you've got to get that through to people, but there's ways and means, and so being kind but also being honest, that's the next thing in my coaching philosophy. You've got to be honest with people. If it's not for you, it's not for you. I will do everything I can, and I use a whole range of techniques from everything that I've learned, right from teaching tiny kids, children with special needs, adults, elite dancers. I've got lots of different methods of getting through to people. But if it's not for you, then you've got to be honest about it.
Sure.
And the other thing that is to provide, and teach good, clean technique, which again has a crossover from ballet, because
Sure.
if you can't fly technically neatly and well, then you're not going to be able to hold formation, whether it be like a four-way or a bigger way.
Sure.
So yeah,
Well, I would imagine coming from the dance world too, because obviously there's a lot more leeway in skydiving, unless you intend to be, the top tier, competing world champion type of thing. You can kind of be an average skydiver and have a great career, but you can't be an average dancer and have any career.
No, and that was for myself. I actually ended up, my body grew too long. So although I'm 5'7", everyone says, "Oh, you're slender and what have you." I wasn't quite slender enough. My hips were a little bit too womanly, and my body grew too long. So that's why I was advised at the Royal Ballet School to go into their teaching program, which meant that you still had to have the standard of ability to dance, because they wouldn't have you otherwise. But you also had the bolt on of the teaching side of it. I mean, I did dance a little bit in the States, actually, in Houston. I danced with a company called Dance a Deum. And yeah, I got a bit homesick, so I came home. And I was intending to audition and dance here. And then I got the opportunity to work in a vocational school, which is where, as I explained, children have their academics alongside their dance. And then the lady that owned that, she wanted to sell. And so I scraped around, borrowed some money from friends, and bought the concern from her. And
Oh, that's fantastic.
yeah. And then, several years later, that enterprise finished. I was in a relationship with the person I run the school with, and that ended. So I was teaching in college, in a performing arts college, and I did a master's degree in ballet studies. And then I was like, I can't afford to live. I just cannot afford to live in London and hold down this job, because the arts isn't paid very well. It's a bit
Sure.
like skydiving in that respect. And so I did something really random, and hold on to your hat, I joined the police.
That's awesome.
So, and that is how I got to skydive.
That's quite the range. I mean, did you just go to bed one night and wake up the next morning going, "Oh, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be a cop"?
Well, you may remember, Americans may remember, do you remember Cagney and Lacey?
Oh, very well. I grew up to that show.
So
Yeah.
when I was a kid, and obviously the dream was to be a ballet dancer, stroke parachutist, I used to sit on the sofa with Mum and we'd watch Cagney and Lacey on a Friday night. And I always thought that Cagney was just awesome. And I was like, "Mum, if I can't be a ballet dancer, I want to be a detective." And so when it came to still skydiving had gone way off my radar at this point. And I was like, what can I do? I've just done another 3 years of a master's degree in ballet studies. I've tried to get work in the arts. It was a year, it was a 2002 or something. There was just no work around. I was like, do you know what? I need something that gives me a pension because I've got no savings. I've got nothing. And I need a PAYE, income. And I thought I'll have a go at joining the police, and so I did, and I got in. And I thought, well, do you know what? If I don't like it, I'll leave. And here I am. I'm a detective constable as well, and a financial investigator. So I'm like Mr. Ben, do you know the character Mr. Ben? I don't know if any of the listeners would know that, but back in the day, I was a cartoon character, and he'd go in a changing room and he'd come out in a different costume. He'd go in and he'd come out with a Superman costume. He'd go in and come out with an astronaut, and that day he'd be that person. It's a kids cartoon, and I feel like that some days. I'm like, which hat have I got on?
I would think.
Costume?
I would think, it's funny because I've had a couple of police officers on and a couple of detectives on and people that are in that line of work. And I've even had a couple of people that have danced at one time or another, but never anybody that's done the whole gambit.
I know, it's pretty awesome, isn't it, really?
So what did obviously your mom supported your being a ballet dancer, but what did she think when you're like, no, I'm going to go ahead and be a police officer now?
Actually, I think my parents preferred it because quite a few of my family come from sort of policing backgrounds, so I think they were happy. But I've always carried on the other career as well, So somebody very wise once said to me, try and have a portfolio career, so that if one avenue shuts down, you've always got another line of work. And actually, although my dad was very against me doing ballet, he's like, there's no money in it. Absolutely true. Or wasn't at that time. It's actually provided a means to actually support my skydiving because initially, before I started tunnel coaching and doing Fly with Fleur, because my wage as a police officer wouldn't support everything that you need,
Sure.
for. I mean, I'm really fortunate now. I have, I'm sponsored by Sunpath. So thank you very much to Sunpath. Also by Cookie. So thank you to Cookie, and also by Vertex Sky Sports, who make my suits.
Nice.
So I'd like to shout out to those guys and say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because that's really helped
Sure.
me.
So now, how did the skydiving come about? Because you obviously skipped past it and forgot about it and chose multiple different paths. But how'd you get back to jumping?
So in the police, in Sussex Police where I work, they had, well, they just still do have a skydiving association, like a little sports group. And at that time, I was there's always a boy involved. I was seeing a guy whose name happened to be Guy, and he introduced me to someone called Paul Dorwood. Do you know Paul Dorwood, Flight One?
Cool.
And Paul was also a police officer at the time, but in the Met. And Guy showed me some video of them skydiving. I was like, I really want to do that. That's like dancing in the air, that is, it was belly, but even the formations and the way they were moving around and taking grips and making these pretty patterns. I was like, that is everything that I've wanted to do. So in ballet, when you dance with a partner, if you're slightly on the heavier side, you feel gravity, you feel the weight of yourself.
Sure.
But in skydiving, as I came to find out, you just are weightless. It's like, well, because you're a skydiver, but it's just an incredible feeling of being light but at the same time grounded.
Well, there's an amazing parallel there too, right? I mean, I remember many, many years ago now seeing Olaf Zipser and Stefania ballroom dancing in free fall. And I'll
Yeah.
never forget it because it was very obvious that he was spinning her and she was doing a bit of a pirouette and then coming back. And I was absolutely blown away because I'd seen some really cool free flying at that point, but that was dancing and it was very obviously dancing. I was absolutely fucking floored.
I
Fluid.
I would still love to be able to do all that stuff, but yeah, my budget and my time at the moment just doesn't. I can do some basic, freestyle, but
Well, it
yeah.
sounds like what you have the least of is time.
I am pretty stretched for time. So yeah, so I went to the drop zone and he was there and he was like, oh, why don't you sign up and do a tandem? And I was like, I've just signed up for my AFF. I start next week. And since then, the police have been absolutely amazing because what they do is they let me work 40 hours over 4 days. So I always have Wednesday off, and the weekend, so I can have time for skydiving.
Oh,
So
that's fantastic.
yeah, they're really supportive of it. So it's great.
Now,
Yeah.
I have lots of British skydiving friends, all of whom I've worked with in the States or abroad elsewhere. I've never seen the community firsthand in the UK, but is it a bit like it is in the States where there's kind of an unspoken truce between officers and the jumpers that are a little bit more on the
Yeah.
edgy side?
Yeah.
Is
So
it?
yeah, pretty much. I try not to tell. I mean, I've told the world now, but
Don't ask, don't tell.
I try not to tell people what I do because I don't want to be defined as a police officer. I don't think of
Sure.
myself as a police officer. Um, Sometimes I have to like poke myself and remember I am. Um, I would say, I define myself as a Fleur, as me. I
Sure.
don't like putting myself in boxes.
Sure.
Um, and yeah, and I say primarily, I would say if anybody asked me, I'm a skydiving instructor, I'm a skydiving coach, and I'm a ballet teacher. And and then if it ever gets deeper and people, and I was like, and I'm a police officer.
Sure. Sure.
And yeah, I wouldn't say that you can't turn a blind eye because you're not allowed to because you're a police officer on duty and off duty. So if I saw something, absolutely illegal going on, I'd have to deal with it. But generally, I just like da 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 da. I don't,
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that I always loved, and I've told the story before on the podcast, is that the first drop zone that I ever was busy working at, there was a Las Vegas version of SWAT officer and a known pot dealer, both of whom were jumpers. And it was very well known that it was a truce on the drop zone, even to the point where I heard the officer tell him, if I ever catch you outside the drop zone, you're fucked, right? But it was that line drawn, and because it was so early for me in the sport, that's how I've always viewed it. Was the drop zone was always, with exceptions of course, a very safe space because we're all just a bunch of jumpers.
and that's what I absolutely love about skydiving. We had a judge at Headcorn, and and then you have your people that live on the drop zone and they pack, and people come from all different backgrounds. Some people have got not such great backgrounds, some people got very privileged backgrounds, but when you're on the drop zone, it really doesn't matter. No one cares.
Yeah.
No one really asks what you do.
No.
They just all want to muck in together and be the best that they can, have fun.
Yeah, it's much more about what discipline you prefer in skydiving than what you do when you're not on the drop zone.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that when I go to a drop zone or a tunnel, the rest of the world outside doesn't seem to exist for me. It's totally bizarre. Time is like being in a TARDIS or a vortex or something. Time just doesn't matter. Outside doesn't matter. There'll be times when I'll go to the drop zone and I think I must make that phone call, or I must do this, or I must pay for tunnel time, or I must do whatever. And I'll get to the end of the day and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't done that, because it absorbs me completely. I'm
Sure.
just totally wrapped up in it.
So now, what did the family think when you signed up for AFF?
They thought I was mad.
You had to kind of tell your mom, look, I've been telling you for a long time. It's my turn.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
did your AFF go?
really well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't do any repeats. I can't remember too much of it, to be fair. I do remember sitting on the edge of the Islander because my first jump was out the Islander, all the rest were out the Let, which was amazing. But the first one on the Islander, I remember sitting on the edge of the plane. And as I say to you, all my life since I was 3, I've been in a light aircraft, so I knew exactly, what the ground looked like from a certain height. But being just that little bit higher for a skydive, I remember sitting on the edge of the door because you couldn't stand, you had to sit a bit like a static line exit. I think I can't really remember actually. Anyway, I remember sitting on the edge of the door and looking down, thinking, "Oh, that's a long way down."
Yep.
And then the next thing I remember is the wind, the noise of the wind. No one had told me that it was going to be noisy. That was the second most surprising thing. And then the last thing, which is something that I use when I teach my students now, and I find it really, really effective. And I adapt it depending on what people believe, but I'll tell you how I feel and think about it. Is that I felt that when I jumped out of the plane, that the hand of God was just catching me. And I was there lying, in my arch position in the hand of God.
Sure.
And I just say to people, just imagine this great big hand as you come out of the plane is going to catch you, and you're just laying in that hand. And the minute they do that, they just relax and they're in a beautiful arch and everything works. And I've had people come down from the jump and they said, I thought of the hand, and it really worked. And that makes me feel so good, I would sort of say you do believe in God or, whatever beforehand. And if they don't, then I'll just adapt it to the giant hand. But yeah, that's how I thought of it. And then one last thing that struck me, and I say this also to my students, is when you jump off a sofa or jump off a table onto the floor or whatever, you expect the bang straight away, don't you? You're waiting for that bang. And I think that's what most people are sort of apprehensive about, is maybe not so much the jump, but is the landing or the bang. And I'm like, you don't need to worry about that, because when you jump out the plane, the weirdest thing is that you're expecting that bang to happen and it doesn't. And then you just enjoy this beautiful time in the sky.
Absolutely.
And one more thing. when I opened my parachute, I remember that what an amazing feeling it was just to have no metal around me, just have these strings and this material, and I was out there in the sky flying. If anybody said to me, what animal would you want to be, I always said I want to be a bird. And I was out there and no metal and glass or anything around me, and it still gobsmacks me to this day. I've been skydiving since 2007, and I still think that every time I'm under canopy. And I still, when I drive home from the drop zone, I look up and I think, I was a dot up there, a couple of hours ago.
Yep.
And
that's the great thing about it, right? Is you get to look back with these new eyes and still be just as impressed, at every single jump. And I remember when my canopy opened for the very first time under my own canopy, I remember looking at my feet and then the ground below and going, holy shit. Because in free fall, I didn't have that sensation of distance, but I did under canopy because there was time to kind of let it all soak in. And the other thing I noticed was the absence of sound. So the same thing you did, I just didn't notice it was noisy until after it stopped. And I wish someone had told me way back then, A, that it was going to be noisy, and B, I wish earplugs had been a thing back then.
Yeah.
Oh, my ears wouldn't be ringing to this day if I had put earplugs in 28 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm suffering from tinnitus, actually.
It sucks, right?
Yeah. I did a jump back at the beginning of the year, and I had a bit of a cold, and I didn't realize that I did have, I just thought it was a little bit of hay fever or something. And my ears really suffered. I had to go to the hospital, and don't jump with the cold, anyone.
Yeah, it's one of those things that they don't tell you about. It's kind of one of those things that skydivers just deal with, I guess, because for the most part, we always thought this is just one of those things you have to put up with. But it definitely, I mean, it ends up really weighing on you. The earplug thing, I wish I had them. I had my wife was complaining about a high-pitched alarm going off, and I literally couldn't hear it
Yeah,
because it's at the exact frequency of my tinnitus. So I
yeah,
just don't hear it because I
yeah,
always hear it.
yeah. I have suffered, and
Oh,
yeah, I do wear earplugs now, and I never used
yeah.
to. I
Well, and of
never
course,
used
I went from that to flying for 14 years in turbines with all kinds of noise. So I just yeah, that part's done for me.
to.
So you got through your AFF, and jumping in the UK can be a bit iffy with weather and stuff. So did it take you a while to start racking up jumps, or did you start traveling like a lot of Brits?
So I was very lucky because having known Paul, he would go over to Elsinore, and
Mm,
so I tagged along, and he pretty much took me from my AFF through my FS, and Melanie, Melanie Curtis.
I do.
Yeah, so she gave me some coaching when I was out there in Elsinore. We went to the tunnel, and yeah, I was very blessed because I had some very good input at a very young skydiving age.
Sure.
So I think that really set me on a good path. So I did quite a few like holidays out to Elsinore, Seville, the land, and didn't get, I think I got 100 jumps in a year, which was pretty good going for a beginner.
Sure. Sure.
Um,
Absolutely.
and yeah, I did have a little mishap in Seville. I landed in a tree, came home in plaster. That was when I was quite young in skydiving experience. In fact,
Sure.
the whole load landed off. I've got a funny story to tell you about that. So
Please, please.
yeah, so we had gone to Guy and I had gone to Seville. We were waiting for Paul and Joe to come, and so we were going to jump. We jumped on the Friday, and we were desperate to jump, like you are. And they put the load up, and as we were, something must have happened with the winds, or the spot was wrong or something. The whole load landed off, and nearly everybody got injured apart from one or two people, and they ran out of ambulances. So we were all lined up in the packing shed, and this ambulance came along, and the paramedic, and literally, I don't know if it was a lady or a man, I can't remember, but he had a shot of like some kind of, I guess it must be morphine or something, and she just lined us all up, and it just um anyway, off I went to hospital. I ended up with my foot in plaster. It wasn't broken, but it was badly sprained. As soon as I got back to the UK, they took the plaster off and rehab and stuff. So yeah, so when I later on I did the Satori Academy, which Julia Foxwell, she ran a program. So Julia Foxwell had a team called Satori, and they were like top um, champions in formation skydiving, and they started an initiative where they took skydivers and put them into teams and basically trained them up. And I was lucky enough to be on that. And we went to Seville for a training camp. And I was like, oh no, the last time I was here, please don't put me on the first load. Please don't put me on the first load. And she's like, no, you won't be on the first load. Anyway, we were on the first load. And I said, please get the spot right, please. And they're like, don't worry, that hasn't happened for about 6 years. Yeah, and
I
that
was
last time was me. And guess what? It happened again.
Oh, no, you didn't land in a tree again, though, did you?
No, I landed in the cornfield. But I did a head over heels because I kind of misjudged the height
Yep.
of the corn.
Yep, that'll
but,
happen.
but I had a plan because the whole time ever since that had happened, I thought, what should I have done? What could I have done? What could I have done better not to get blown backwards on the canopy? And I had this plan, and I put the plan into place. So all the way up in the plane, I was looking for the outs. As we were doing the skydiving, as we were tracking, I was looking down, and I was tracking towards where I could have a clear space to land, and and that's what I did. have a
It's
plan.
funny because obviously skydiving is a sport where you want to learn from other people's mistakes, but most of us still seem to only learn best from our own mistakes. But the good thing about most skydivers is we absolutely do learn, especially when it ends in a morphine shot and plaster.
Yeah.
So yeah, you tend to keep that on your mind. Those are the jumps that you don't forget. Like I'm sure you're the same. I've had literally thousands of great jumps that were a lot of fun, but the ones I really remember are the ones that weren't so fucking great.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Those ones when you get down and your heart's going because you've just escaped it,
Yes, yes.
and
Worst, of course, are the ones where you screwed something up, and you're beating yourself up for it, and then the next down is something just went wrong, and you're it's just a loop that runs in your head. I mean, I still remember every proper negative jump I ever had.
yeah, yeah, and that is an issue actually for me because out of I haven't got a huge amount of jumps. I've got 1,250
Mhm.
something jumps, but when I my landings, when I have a heavy landing or a bad landing, um, I've probably got hundreds of really great landings,
Sure.
but it'll always be the one, the heavy one or the one where it was just a bit fast or whatever. And yeah, you just have to try and focus on the good ones and try and replicate that and learn from your mistakes, but also focus on the good stuff as well. I'm not very good as a person. I'm not very good at focusing on the positive. So somebody could give me like 10 compliments and one bad thing, but I'd only hear the negative thing.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, no, I completely agree. You're only as good as your last bad landing. So how did the tunnel stuff start for you?
So I did the usual little bit of tunnel, in four-way competitions and such. And then uh, what was I doing? I think I was just learning to do a bit of free flying and such, with Jimmy McCarthy. And then my friend Brian Cumming, who we run events together.
Hmm.
We have like a kind of joint enterprise called Fab Events, which is Fleur and Brian
Very
events.
cool.
Yeah, so he do you know when the whole IBA thing became more to the fore and with the tunnels and they were giving coaching qualifications? So it wasn't just a bit of ad hoc where you go with a friend and you'd help them out in the tunnel, which was what was happening. So I'd take some of my FS students and I would give them a little bit of coaching in the tunnel, and then they formalized it so the IBA and iFly formalized it so that you had to have a coach rating.
Mm.
And Brian was like, "Have you seen this? There's an opportunity to do this." And literally that night, I did the coach ready assessment, and I was on the phone to the manager. Please, 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 can I be on a coach rating, um, course program? Long story short, that's how I got my coach rating. And then because I teach a lot of FS at Headcorn, and now I'm also working at Skydive Neverhaven as well. Um, so people wanted to come and just practice in the tunnel. So I started off just doing a little bit, maybe I'd go down to Basingstoke, iFly for like half an hour, literally, if that's what people wanted.
Sure.
And word spread, and people recommended people, and then becoming an AFF instructor, I'd sort of say to people, look, I think you should do a bit of tunnel, or other AFF instructors would send their students to me. And now I've got a whole network of people that, want to come and fly, which is amazing. And yeah, and I think I like to say that I specialize in helping people who've got issues, in in their AFF and beginner FS1s, because I looked around and there are amazing coaches, four-way coaches, free flight coaches, but there's very few who actually want to or do spend a lot of time with beginners.
Mm.
And and I think a lot of beginners as well think that the tunnel is for, those really experienced flyers. But actually, if we can get in to students pre-AFF, during the AFF, in that period from when they've got their A license and they're just having those jumps in the sky on their own, because in the UK you can't jump with anyone else unless you've got your formation of skydiving qualification. So a lot of people get into bad habits, then they try and do their formation of skydiving qualification, and then you've got to undo a lot of stuff.
Sure.
So if you can get in there early, get those habits eradicated, sort out the issues, then they're going to have a happier journey. They're going to want to keep coming back to skydiving. They're going to be able to jump with other people. It's going to be fun. It's not going to be a washing machine, what I call washing machine skydive, where it all goes out the door and funnels immediately because no one can get their levels. And and that's what I love to do. I love helping people who have, maybe they're spinning on their level 3 AFF, or they're, I don't know, whatever it is, they can't get their
Sure.
body position right, or, they're having trouble in their practice touches, or they're just starting their FS journey and they haven't got the body position right. And
Sure.
I just love it. And I love it when they go away back to their own drop zones or work with me. And, but it's even more rewarding actually when, they go back to their own drop zone and they work with their own coaches and instructors. And then they write back to me and they say, hey, I got that level 4, and I did it. Thanks so much, because that really helped what you said or what we did.
Absolutely.
And that honestly, it makes me glow inside. It
Oh,
really
of
does.
course.
I just love it. I'm so happy for them.
Well,
Um,
and I
yeah,
think people that have more body awareness take it very much for granted. So people that don't have that haven't had the training as a dancer or done a lot of athletic stuff when they were younger, that don't know what their feet are doing back there somewhere and can't tell the difference between a straight leg or their feet on their ass. That's extremely difficult. It really is, and
yeah,
you have to learn to be incredibly talented in how you work with people in order to get that through, especially when it's in an environment like free fall. But with
yeah,
the tunnel gives you a bit of an edge, because now it's not this person having to worry about the altimeter and everything else. It's you standing on the net in front of them with a smile on your face and a hand signal, and then they can figure it out, or you physically put them in the position that you need them in, that you cannot do in the sky,
yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah, I say to them, look, this is our time for us to do this thing as many times as we need to do it. So if I need to come and move your foot, like you're on the net, and I say, I give them the stop signal, which I teach them. I said that means I'm going to come around the back of you, and I'm going to get hold of your foot, and I'm going to put it into this position, or whatever whatever leg or whatever it is, their knee, and I'm going to hold it there. And then when I let it go, if it pings back to the position, the fall position, I'm going to put it back again into that position, and then I'm going to let go, and we're going to do that as many times as we need to do until you can feel what that feels like. And then you have to translate what that feeling means to you in your brain,
Yep.
and then that's how you learn. And I've started doing a thing which I developed in the last couple of weeks, because I had somebody who every time he came into the tunnel, he literally went like a starfish flat. And so you can only do this on a skiddy floor, but if you curl up into a little ball, and then I go 1, 2, 3, bang into your position, into your, and and it's amazing how many people don't get the right position. They've got their legs like one bent more than the other, or
Sure.
uneven. And so then I put them into the right position. I'm like, feel, what does that feel like? And they say, oh, well, this leg feels higher than the other. I was like, honestly, no, this is level. So put that feeling into your brain. Let's try it again. And then we go back into the little ball, and then 1, 2, 3, bang. And I learned that from teaching myself in ballet.
Mm.
So when I was a student, I had an issue with my stance, and I stuck my ribs out or something, stuck my bottom out, and I would just stand sideways to the mirror and get myself into the correct position using the mirror, close my eyes and feel what that felt like, and then open my eyes. Okay, I've still got the position. Right, relax. Let's
Yep.
do this again. And put myself into the position, look, and I repeated it that many times until that I could do it with my eyes closed. I could feel the position. When I opened my eyes, I had the right position,
Sure.
and that's what you have to do. And tunnel's perfect for that, because we can do it as many times as we need to do.
Oh, it really is. I remember having an AFF student that was having a rather difficult time of it, and was watching everyone else going, and I told him, I'm like, look, eventually you'll be able to be blindfolded and they'll be able to throw you out of an airplane and you'll be flying the instant you're out the door. But it's baby steps. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some work and it's going to take some awareness. But eventually you'll always be flying. You'll never be flipping around and flailing. It's just going to come. And that guy eventually turned into an AFF instructor, which, I mean, come on, how cool is that, right? So you know
Brilliant.
it's gonna happen. It's
Yeah.
definitely gonna get there, but it's finding that way that works for them.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody is, it's a cliche, but everybody's different, and everybody learns in a different way. And it's about finding that key to unlocking that person's learning style and ability, and then being able to like get into that and then help them understand how they learn. Some people don't actually know how they learn. I ask
Sure.
them, I say to them, how do you learn best? Are you a visual person? Do you need do you need me to explain it? Do you need it broken down? Do pictures work? Does imagery work? Are you a copier? Because some people just can't copy. I see a lot of people in the tunnel, and they're going through things, and the student behind is trying to copy, and they can't. They can't copy and think and work it all out at the same time.
Sure.
But some people can. Some people, you can talk to them until you're blue in the face, but if you do it in front of them, they'll copy and it'll be brilliant. It's really unique how everybody learns, and that's part for me of the puzzle and the fun of it and the
Oh, it's
joy.
fantastic. It really is
Um,
fantastic watching it happen and seeing how different instructors interact with different students. And I had an old friend by the name of Micah Couch, who was a tunnel instructor in Dubai when I was out there, and a skydiver and a team member and champion and all this. And we were playing in the tunnel, and he was teaching a variety of different people how to do different moves. And with a low airspeed, we were playing a game where he would jump in one door of the tunnel, do some maneuver, and then fly out the other end. And he jumped in a stand and literally just zipped right out the door and pointed at me. And I'd seen what he did with no clue how I was supposed to do it, but I just jumped in, imitated what I thought he did, and shot right out the other door. And everyone, including me, was shocked that it worked. And he said, let's do it again. And I said, nope, I'm never going to be able to do that again. There's no way in hell I can repeat that twice. No way. No way. But the imitation stuff was quite a lot of fun, and it helps kind of boost their confidence if they learn that way. It just depends on how people
yeah,
learn.
yeah, yeah. No,
So
it's interesting.
how did the fly with Fleur idea happen?
Oh, so that was my boyfriend's suggestion. He so um I think when I was starting at my ballet school, somebody said you should always have a brand because people remember the brand. And then we were thinking, well, what name, what could I call myself? And he's just like, it's easy, fly with Fleur. It's like, oh my God, that's genius. So yeah, that's how it started. So now I have pull-up cords that are beautiful pull-up cords that I've made, and I have pens I give out to my students, because one thing that does, it's great to have when they're doing their logbook is have a pen, because the amount of
Yeah,
times, have you got a pen? And they're like, no. It's like, here you are, have a pen. I'm getting some t-shirts made, and some and like a hoodie and everything. I've got it on my jumpsuits. So on my Vertex jumpsuits, they've made this beautiful logo
nice.
on my suits, and I have it on my cookie plates as well. Yeah, I just need it on my rig next time.
Right.
Yeah, but
So with all of this, I mean, teaching ballet, working as a detective, teaching in the tunnel and an AFF instructor. How do you manage that? That's just too much.
It's pretty hard. I use my annual leave to do a lot of teaching. So when we do the camps abroad, I use my annual leave for that. I work pretty much every weekend. I work every Wednesday in the tunnel, either London or Basingstoke. So yeah, I have a very understanding boyfriend.
I was about to add, that was my next question was, all right, how's this working with the guy?
Yeah. So, well, he used to be a skydiver, so he understands. The thing. He works with dogs, so he has his dogs, and that's his hobby. Conveniently, he lives quite near the drop zone, so when that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that works well.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Oh, nice.
it works. And of course, in the winter, we don't jump so much here in the UK.
Sure.
I'm ashamed to say I'm a fair weather jumper. I'm not good in the cold. So winter we tend not to do such long hours, obviously.
Sure.
And the drop zones pretty much close over from December through to March for Headcorn, and December through to February, I think, for Netheravon.
Sure.
So I think there's only a couple of drop zones that stay open all year.
Yeah, I had Scotty Milne on not all that long ago, and of course he pisses off to Spain quite often, or to the States. So obviously it's that time of year you get out of the UK.
Yeah, I train up quite a lot of his AFF students. He sends them to myself, and then I do the pre-AFF. Yeah, it works really well. Really well.
I've had him on the show. I've had Brian on the show as well.
Yeah.
So I've had a
awesome.
few from out your way. So how do people track you down if they want some coaching, they want to come out and jump, they want to find out what being a detective is like, they want to start ballet? How do they find you?
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Fly with Fleur, or you can send me a friend request, Fleur Jones, on Facebook. You can WhatsApp me. Do you want my WhatsApp phone number, or?
I wouldn't give that out. We'll go ahead and stick with the social media stuff.
Yeah, and my email it's on the social media, so it's
awesome.
all there. I put my WhatsApp on the social media, so yeah, absolutely, get in touch. And I love to help. I love to help people. So I love to help people achieve their goals and their dreams. And nothing pleases me more than, as I say, to know that I've had an input in somebody's skydiving career or life. So
it's a pretty special thing to know that you helped aim someone in the right direction, or get them past what would have been a potentially unsurmountable hurdle.
Absolutely.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's been so fantastic catching up with you. I can't thank you enough to take your time out of the incredibly busy schedule that you have to sit and talk about what you just finished doing.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I'm really stoked that you asked me to come on.
This was great. Thank you so much. You have yourself a fantastic evening.
Okay, and you. Maybe catch up again soon.
Absolutely.
Okay, bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the extreme sports collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.